Now recognize the gentleman from Louisiana, Mr. Higgins.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman and my colleagues, I think we recognize the significance of today's hearing, and we have to tackle this thing. The United States shipbuilding industry has the capacity to meet our nation's maritime needs, yet we've seen in modern history, we've seen a disturbing trend of inconsistent government contracting, excessive program engineering, design changes that are endless, lack of long-term commitment that, when all combined, that prevents shipbuilders, especially smaller shipbuilders, which have historically carried a great burden of our requirements of our nation afloat a Navy that's indomitable around the world. We need our smaller shipbuilders across the country to be vibrant and successful. But we have baked in a formula that makes it quite difficult for them to perform. And investments in like workforce expansion and infrastructure for the smaller shipyards requires a solid long-term commitment with their government partners when they're building vessels, so that they can be healthy and vibrant and have the strong workforce with time on the job and the appropriate infrastructure and modernization to perform on the next contract. So the revitalization of our shipbuilding industry could very well determine the outcome of our next conflict. So we have a heavy responsibility here to pay attention to it. And I would like to direct my first question, more if I have time, but Ms. Oakley, given the strategic importance of strengthening our domestic shipbuilding base, which is a common theme here today, what do you see as the primary obstacle regarding what I refer to as the baked into the formula, coming from the Navy and DOD, regarding constant design changes and a moving target for our shipbuilding industry? Could you address that, please?
Yeah, I think there's a couple of things. In my opening, I mentioned that the Navy often puts forward optimistic business cases, right? So the best case scenario in terms of the cost and schedule estimates, given the risks that are apparent on these programs. Everyone knew that this was going to be a challenge to build up, for example, for the Columbia-class program, the Virginia-class, maintaining both of those at the same time. But we didn't act on that information soon enough to be able to respond. And so I think that really critically examining—
You said soon enough, but you're describing years past, correct?
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am. Please continue.
So I think one of the biggest challenges with regard to what we've seen in Navy shipbuilding over the years in respects to design is that not enough work is done up front to be able to know what we're signing on the dotted line for.
Agreed.
And
Howard, if I can shift, because I'm respectful of your time and the ticking clock here, regarding American yards and shipbuilding, and how the Jones Act plugs in there. Would you address the consequences of overdependence from an American perspective and a national security and indeed a world security perspective, for America's, the danger of overdependence on foreign shipyards and how that plugs into the Jones Act, for instance, in the icebreaker realm? I think the ships should be made in America. Would you address that topic, please, Ms. Oakley?
I think there's always a challenge with regard to leveraging our allies and leveraging foreign shipyards for things that are critical to our own warfighting efforts. And I think there has to be a real understanding of what the impacts of that are when making those decisions. Also balanced with what can our industrial base realistically provide us. And I think that that's part of the problem right now is that we're hoping that this industrial base can be mobilized to be able to meet our needs and grow our fleet to 381.
Would you agree that to identify a category of vessels as, say, crucial vessels, would you agree generally that American treasure should be invested in American shipyards and the building of crucial vessels?
I mean, I would say that the Navy would agree with you. I don't know that I necessarily have a position on that.
Thank you, Madam, for an honest answer. Mr. Chairman, I yield.